Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Today I want to talk about the pain or the suffering that's behind our suffering. What does that mean? So, when let's take an example. When we are in physical pain, okay? Suppose you hurt your foot, right? And you are now in pain. So what happens is that when you're in that moment of pain, right, physical pain, then one is that you're experiencing a physical pain, right, in the body, right there. Maybe there is a cut, maybe there is some sort of something happen with the skin, and you're dealing with that, something on your body, something on your skin right in front of you. Maybe you're bleeding and you can feel that pain, okay? However, the pain behind that pain is the pain of, why didn't I walk properly? Now what will happen? Now I won't be able to walk for a few days. Now how will I do my exercise? I had to go for this dinner. Now I won't be able to go. Then also berating yourself in the, like, maybe somebody has done something to me. Why can't I walk, properly? Why can't I be more present when I'm walking? All of that, and it goes on and on and on and on. And now you're going to see the doctor, you're going to spend money. Oh my god, I'm wasting money, all of that, right? So what happens is that and this is just one instant, folks, okay, where you hurt yourself, and then all of this um, conversation is going on in the background, right? Today's podcast is about the fact that we don't need to go through that additional layer of pain that we constantly put ourselves through, right? To be present in the very moment means that life throws at us whatever it is, right? And of course, by the way, we're going to talk about alignment as well, which we end up talking about every time. When you're aligned, then life doesn't just give you, it doesn't just throw stuff at you. It matches your frequency. So when you are in that right frequency, anyways, everything is working out in that moment. However, like I said earlier, that we're only functioning from that 5%, 7%, 9% of our brain, right? The rest of the 90% is anyways the unconscious, and that's where we look for opportunities that are beyond our mind, right? So what else is possible? So something that the universe brings to our lives, right? And of course, when we're aligned, we attract good things. However, even if there is something else, we are able to manage it, because it's something like, unexpected. We're able to manage it, and we're able to see the goodness in it because of our very frequency, right? So that is only and only possible when we are present, and when we are in that creation frequency, or in that happy or aligned frequency, right? So let's go a little deeper and talk about, of course, being in the moment, right? And how do we move away from the suffering behind the actual suffering that's happening? Because many a times you would have seen that so many situations come into our lives, and if we deal with it in that very moment, we can move on from that. Like, somebody said something to me. I'll give you an example. Somebody actually said something to me, or the way I perceived it was I perceived it to be very rude, right? And that conversation happened, okay? Now, it could have ended in maybe a day or two, or it ideally should have ended just there and then. You work on your emotions and you move on. However, I ended up marinating in that one conversation for over a year, okay? For over a year, folks. Just thinking of different things, of why they said it, how it affected me, how could I take it, all those scenarios of, oh, if they come in front of me now, I'm going to say this. Those scenarios, they never end, right? Because every day you have a better comeback. No, you don't know what to say when it happens. However, for the rest of the years, or for the rest of the whatever time, you're just thinking of ways of getting back, right? And so it's a auto, it's like what happens when your phone, if you're not using your phone, right, and it still shows that your battery is going down, and you wonder, I didn't even use my phone, why is the battery going on? But there are so many things in the background running, right? There are so many apps, there are so many like things in the phone that is running, right? So similarly, when one thing is something happens, and the other thing is there are all of these programs that are running in the background that end up really making us feel low. They sap our energy. They end up creating a lot of not only negative energy, but that a lot of physical issues in our lives. And it's like sometimes you don't close those apps and it keeps running and running and running, and that's where you start feeling like you're stuck in a loop. That's where that stuckness comes from, right? And when this so-called attachment, right, to a certain suffering, it kind of breeds, it kind of becomes big, that also then ends up creating more karma, right? So now moving on to this attachment, okay? Now, when I say attachment, a lot of us have this, very weird notion of what attachment is. Oh, you're getting attached to material things, you're getting attached to, all these good things, and it's not a good thing. I mean, or people or whatever, like good things in life, and that's not a great way to be. But that's all. That doesn't even make sense, folks. Like, that's all a lie. You're here to have a good life. You're here to enjoy each and every pleasure, each and every amazing good thing that you can. And by the way, you can only be able to attract or allow all of that into your life when there is no attachment. That's the irony. Because attachment energy of clinginess, right, that's actually control, right? And where is that control coming from? That comes from you not being confident enough, you not imagining yourself as being the one who has the divine right to abundance. So that's where we get into the attachment of attachment to outcomes, attachment to identities, attachment to people. Because when we actually get so focused on this one thing that it has to be that way, that means we're not in the flow. And we're not in the flow because we're insecure of that one thing going away, and then what will happen to us? Then we will be a nobody, then this will happen, or whatever you're attached to, right? So if you kind of ask a few questions, if you go deeper into why you're attached to it in a certain way, it'll always end up being some sort of insecurity, that you feel that in the absence of that you would not be good enough. Yeah. So let's talk energetics when it comes to attachment, okay? So wherever we attach, right, to anything, anybody, what is happening is we are creating an energetic cord. Because then, firstly, there is an expectation, yeah. An expectation will always lead to a disappointment. A disappointment will always lead to a karmic imprint. So if any of you, out there wonder, how do we create karma? What is karma? This is how we create karma. Okay. So there is this saying in Bhagavad Gita, or there is this whole about, action and not focusing on what you get as the result. So always remember that action is inevitable, but attachment to results is what binds you. Because what is happening when we get attached to a result, we think that if we don't get this result, then I am not good enough. Okay? Then nothing works out in my life. Then life sucks. Then I am the unlucky one. Then all the other things, right? Because we feel ki ye nahi mila, to it's the end of the world. But if you ask yourself 3 4 more questions, why, like, why do you think it's the end of the world? Why? Because you somehow feel that if you don't get this, you will not get anything else. And where is that coming from? That is a complete lack, um a lack identity, or that's a complete lack energy that you're emanating. If you don't get this, then you'll get something else, because you're a child of God. If because your identity is that of an abundant being, because you are a magnet, you are in a flow. One thing goes, another thing comes. Change is the only constant, right? However, when you hold on to something, what happens when the river is, when you imagine you're going out into the wild, right? And you're going fishing, and there is this very very heavy flow of a river, right, that you're in. And then you get some water in some bucket, okay, and you come home, okay. Well, now what has happened? And that water stays there because you wanted to keep the water somehow, right? And the water stays there in the bucket 1 day, 2 day, 5 days, 3, like whatever, 1 week, 1 month. What will happen? It'll start stinking. There'll be insects in it, all of that, because of stagnant water. That's what it does, right? And folks, that's what our life energy is all about. Yeah. As long as you're flowing, you'll stay fresh, you'll have your strength, you'll keep attracting more things. What happens when there is like fresh flow water? You get, more, it thrives, like even the life forms in it thrive, right? And so you will also thrive when you're flowing. And the moment you get stagnant, the moment you don't innovate, are not creative, are trying to hold on to things that are holding, you will start to stagnate. So this is a very important question for all of you to now pause and think. What in your life feels heavy because you're holding on to it too tightly? It could be a relationship. It could be the love of a loved one, right? A lot of expectations. It could be a job. It could be an opportunity. It could be a client. It could be anything, anything in life that you're holding on to. Just remember that it's coming. Again, don't go into the wrongness of you. Oh my God, why am I doing it? Why am I so needy? No, we're all human beings, and we get attached, right? We are all social beings. So this is what happens. However, to know that being in the flow, looking forward, moving forward, keep trying to be present and then move forward is our way of being. Look at nature, right? I know nature is quite brutal. However, if you look at a tree outside, I'm just talking about the cyclical nature, in the sense of, the leaves, they fall and new leaves come out, right? If the tree ends up holding onto the leaves and not going to let it go, new leaves will not be able to come, isn't it? However, the root is still there, right? It's very rooted, it's very centered in that sense. So you must be very centered within. However, when whatever is coming up with life, apart from your dharma, you have to learn to flow with the flow. And that's how you flow, and that's how you move, and that's how you move ahead from attachment. Because attachment, like I said, comes from insecurity, and movement comes from that secure, powerful confidence that you have within. Okay. Now, karma, let's talk about karma a little bit. Karma is not a punishment, okay, but it's just cause and effect, a cycle of that. This is a whole other, program that I have actually. I've recently launched this whole karma deep clearing angle, because, there are so many aspects to it that one needs to figure out, one needs to understand, and also get clues about why things are happening in this life, that we can go really deep. But for today, I just want to focus on that, don't look at it as punishment, for sure. Okay. However, attachment will lead to creating karma. Okay. Because attachment keeps us recycling the same lesson if you refuse to let go. You can look at any situation in your life where you're not letting go, where you're thinking, this is it. If I don't get this, I don't want anything else. You're creating karma there, folks. You are. The lesson there is for you to learn to let go. And it's true. And I have many examples, not just mine, but like many examples from my clients' lives as well. But let me talk about my own example of, being a runner. I was always running away from situations in life. Like I said, I think I already mentioned my early 20s. And then what happened was, when this big shift happened, when my father passed away, and there were so many responsibilities, I kind of made a decision to not run and to stay put, and to look at that situation into the, into the eyes of that monster, so to say, that I was thinking I'm running away from. But the moment you're present, folks, the moment I stayed, the moment I was ready for what's going to come up, things became different. And that's what happens. The moment you're present, folks, you tend to dissipate the negative energy of the situation. It's that simple. I know it's not easy to be present. I know it's not easy to face something that you think is difficult. However, I am inviting you today to start living your lives by being in the present moment, because the more you run from your past and the more you run towards your future and not stay in the present, the more you're actually not learning your lesson, creating more karmic cycles, and living in dissatisfaction, which is the irony, because you're looking for satisfaction, you're looking for fulfillment, which you'll not be able to find until and unless you live in the now. And this I've said so many times, right? If you keep running away from a situation, like, finding a partner, you were with somebody, now you're divorced, now you're with someone else, then you're with someone else, you will, until unless you find out what that issue is within that your own self, you can be with whoever, or you can keep moving homes, right? You can keep moving countries, but if you don't look within to see what pattern it is that keeps repeating, and kind of work on that, wherever you go, that situation will come with you. Yeah. Now, what is emotional karma? All that resentment, guilt, shame, all of that is stored in your body and your subconscious. Yeah. And the more we look at our problems, right? Whatever the problems are, whatever your issues are, you'll actually be able to understand, if there are any patterns that are repeating. And the more you can decipher that, the more you'll understand where your attachment is coming from. Because sometimes it's not easy for you to even see what's going on in your life, because there are so many things, right? But that's why, if at any moment, you try and not be in the past or the future, and you come back to the here and now, focus on your 5 senses, smell what's around you, see what's going on, maybe give yourself a hug, okay, have some tea, taste it, and activate those 5 senses within you, and stay in the moment. Be mindful. If you think it's, sometimes when you're very anxious, just doing this exercise itself can be like so daunting, but try it for 5 minutes every day. Try it for 5 minutes, and I promise you'll see a change in a few weeks, right? That's one thing. You can practice cutting cords in the now. How? Imagine there is a cord coming from your solar plexus in front. You can imagine a job, you can imagine a person, whoever you feel like you're getting too attached to. When I say cutting cords, this is a whole thing that I do energetically, but this is a simple exercise I'm giving to you. When you're cutting cords, you're not cutting away the relationship or anything like that. You're just cutting away the negative charge in the relationship. Like here we're talking about that attachment is not positive. It is something that really binds you, and it then your energy starts to get zapped, right? So imagine that person in front of you, and imagine you're holding a pair of scissors, or you can even imagine with your hands you're cutting it. Keep doing that, action till you feel that the cords have been severed, and then imagine a golden light, kind of sealing your solar plexus wherever that cord was coming from, and sealing that other person or other situations, solar plex that point, and just imagine the cords dissolving, right? Remember, being attached is like dragging a luggage of old emotions, and being present is like dropping that bag. You can even do a grounding breath, you know. Inhale now, exhale, let go. Do anything but start somewhere, right? What if the only thing that mattered was this breath, this moment? What would that shift in you? Yeah. Because what is attachment? Attachment is always looking in the past, presence is looking forward. Think of driving, right? When you're driving, if you're constantly looking in the back, will you be able to drive? No. Instead, that's very hazardous, right? So focus on the future. What new energy can you invite when your hands are open and not clinging? Can you hold on to water in your fist? No. Energy flows where attention goes. So forward gazing pulls you into creation mode. Try and journal on this question today. If I wasn't attached to whatever it is, you can fill in the blank. The person, situation, job. What would I be free to create now? Yeah. Let me give you another tool for all of those who keep coming up with excuses that I can't do this, nothing works out. Try Ho'oponopono, right? Think of that situation wherever you're feeling attached, wherever you're feeling like, oh my God, I can't let go of. And say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Keep repeating, keep repeating, keep repeating 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, 200 times, whatever. Say it when you feel light from like 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. Till you feel 0, keep saying it. And then put your hands on your heart and say, I release what no longer serves me. I choose freedom. Or you can say, I'm free in this moment. I flow with life. Yeah? That's all, folks. That's all. Choose the present moment. Be present. Stay in the present as much as you can. And you'll see your life completely change the way you want it to. You'll start feeling lighter, you'll start feeling happier, you'll start looking forward to good things in your life. And once that expectation changes, good things will start to flow in your life. So I hope you liked this episode today. Please share it with anyone you think needs to hear this. And just flow with the flow, folks. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Signing off, Anisha Dutt from Zarya Healings.